Welcome to Seth's Daily Podcast, the Line Before Podcast with me and Tracy. How are you doing tonight, Tracy?
Doing well. It's been a busy week. Been trying to get together for the past couple of days, and we finally get to do it at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Hey man, that's what happens when we work all the time, brother.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, especially evenings. So you work during the day, I work in the evening, so it's kind of hard to get together.
Yeah. Yeah, I normally don't get off till like 10.
Yeah, and I mean, it is what it is. We'll get together when we can get together.
Definitely, man, definitely. Thankful to have my job though.
Absolutely, especially nowadays.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And I know you want to tell people about your UFO encounter that you had back in New Mexico.
Okay, it was 2015, 2014, somewhere around in there. And, I traveled the country for years and I always heard these people talk about, hey, I seen this in the sky or I seen that in the sky. And, I didn't really foo-foo it. I believe people are seeing something. And I don't think it's all misinformation. I don't think it's all lies. I think people are seeing something. And this particular night, I was coming through Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if you know anything about that part of the world, Albuquerque sits kind of in a bowl. So if you travel west on I-40, you go down into the city of Albuquerque. If you go east, you go down into the city of Albuquerque. So I'm going east, coming down this monster hill. It's like you can see the entire city. And I'd been through there many, many times, and I never really noticed any kind of planes or anything. And I noticed this thing floating across, the city, but it was far enough away where I couldn't really tell what it was. It just looked like a plane at first. And as it got closer and closer, I was thinking, man, that's awful low to the ground. Um, and then it got to where I could see where it was or what it was. And the first thing that came to my mind was like, holy crap, it's finally happening to me. I finally am looking at something that, and when I say a UFO, I'm not saying that it was out of this world, but I will say that it's nothing like I've never seen. But it was a triangle. Um, if you put six tractor trailers in a triangle, 2 by 2 by 2, that's about how big it was. It had lights, white lights on each point of the triangle, and red lights in between each point. This thing flew across I-40 no more than probably 200 feet above it. It was close. So I'm I've slowed down to about 30 mile an hour on the interstate. Of course, it's 3 in the morning, and I've got my head hung out the window looking up, thinking, holy crap, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? There's no way. So the crazy thing is just the day before I got a new phone. And I was trying to drive, look at this thing out the window straight up, and try to figure out how to film it. And I'd never didn't have the phone long enough to really figure out where the record button and all that stuff was. Because if anybody knows me, they know I'm about the most tech savvy guy as a flea. So this thing flies right across directly, right over top of me, and it makes absolutely no sound, no sound whatsoever. And I mean, we're talking 200 feet, and something that big should have made a sound. Okay. So it flew across the I-40. It would be, if I was going east, it would be north. It flew north over the interstate. Got maybe a half a mile past the interstate and stopped and came back across the interstate, back in front of me again. And here I'm still trying to figure out how to record this silly thing. And I'm still looking straight up, into the sky, trying to keep an eye on it, keep an eye on the road and try to work this phone at the same time. And it went back across Albuquerque like it was going south towards Mexico, and it just disappeared. Now, there was other cars on the interstate, and that was another thing that was kind of sticking in the back of my head was like, I am not the only one seeing this thing. So, I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be reports in the newspaper, whatever, next day. So I look up the newspapers in Albuquerque, no mention of anything. I try to look up news reports from Albuquerque that particular night or the next morning. Nothing. No mention of any triangle shape. Nothing. And that's something that I'll probably remember. The rest of my life is was this thing military? Very well could have been, but was it for sure? No, I don't know. It could have been something from outer space for all I know. But I've never seen one since or before. And the strange thing is that this thing had absolutely no sound.
Hmm.
And it was an incredible experience for me because like I said, I've heard all these people say, well, I seen this and over across the desert. And I'd go across the desert quite a bit, and I'd never seen anything. Every now and then you'd see them doing exercises out there, and they'd be shooting flares in the middle of the night out of a plane or something. That's not unusual. But I mean, to see this thing as plain as I saw it, um, it was an experience that I'll never forget.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I've had experience with UFOs as well. Well, one when I was a little kid, I was in a swimming pool and just seen a thing that looked like a dish that was up in the air, but it was like moving so fast with red lights.
Really?
Yeah, it was only for
Wow.
a second though. Only for a second. It had red lights,
Now,
man. It was shaped like like the old dish, like how
yeah,
big they are, like the old big ones, like back in the
like,
90s. It's what it
yeah,
looked like, which it could have been a satellite possibly.
yeah. Now, I know back in the early 90s, right here from where I'm from, right here around Ashland, Kentucky, there was a report of one flying over, from Ohio to Kentucky. You cross what they call the Ashland Bridge. There's two bridges there. They call them the Twin Bridges. And there was a report that one flew over top of that bridge close enough that it stopped traffic.
Huh.
And it was about 9 o'clock in the evening. But there's sightings up and down the this river all the time. I mean, I live right on the Ohio River, and there's sightings up and down this river all the time. I have just never been one of those people who've had a sighting.
Yeah,
But you hear about them from time to time and this and that. But our buddy Junebug down around Williamson, they get a lot of reports down there. Um, but this thing it was just massive. Like I said, you take six tractor trailers and put two in Mega Side, two in Mega Side, and two in Mega Side. That's how big it was. Put them nose to tail, and it was just huge. And for something like that not to make a sound was just that it was just mind-boggling to me because it didn't really float. I mean, it had complete control. It had purpose of where it was going. And when it stopped, it stopped. It didn't slowly glide to a stop. It just stopped and then slowly went back across, the interstate. And when I say slowly, I mean it wasn't slow like it was floating like a balloon. I mean, it had purpose. It went that way, but not at a blinding speed. It was just, you could watch it for a while. But yeah, that's the one and only time I've ever really seen anything that I couldn't really say, yes, it was from this world or no, it wasn't from this world.
yeah, definitely, man. I mean, there's stories of like you said, like around water and stuff. There's actually stories of UFO coming out of water and
Yes, absolutely.
going up
Yeah.
to the sky.
Yeah. Especially in a lot of the Atlantic Ocean. Um, there's been many, many reports of them, coming in and out of the ocean out there. So
That's
yeah,
interesting.
I mean, what is the purpose of being underwater, versus flying in the air? Or There's so many questions that you could ask that I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start.
They was looking for mermaids.
That's what, yeah, Davy Jones' locker or something. Yeah, for sure.
But nah, man, it's definitely is cool. That's for sure.
After that, every time I went out there, I would look, and it's like the old baseball adage, you always hit a home run when you don't expect it. So it's kind of like, I guess, when you don't expect it, that's when you're going to see it versus, when you go hunting for it, but yeah, it was an experience for me for sure. I wished I could have got some kind of video or even just a picture, but I couldn't figure out that daggone phone, and it just, I mean, I was better off carrying a camera. So
Nah, man, you're good. But yeah, man, that's definitely a cool story, man. And Earl, he actually had experience, funny enough, around the lake here. He seen like a little white light go through the sky, but it was like really fast.
it's people like Earl, and there's other people around. It seems like they are fortunate enough to see these things on like a repeat mode.
Yeah.
Some people will see them four and five and six times, and some of us never see it at all, and some of us see it once. Um, yeah, especially around this area, the Appalachian area. Don't know what the significance is of why there's a lot of reports of this area, but it seems to have something to do with our particular area and the desert. And a lot of it is around, which makes the mystery a little more uh, mysterious. Is a lot of times it's around army bases or air force bases or some type of military base. So then that begs to ask, is it our military? Is our military communicating with these things? Are they not from this world? Are they secret, top secret flight security stuff that only secret squirrels are allowed to know about? I mean, you don't know. It just adds to the mystique.
Yeah, that's like in Point Pleasant, man, with Mothman. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was reports of a UFO up that way right before all that happened, and then you had, of course, the Men in Black. Everybody knows about the story about the Men in
And
Black
there's a
visiting Point
government place
Pleasant.
up there, ain't there?
Well, there was the TNT factory up there where they actually made some kind of an explosives for. I think it was. I don't know if it was mines or if they made maybe some type of explosives for the military. But again, there's your military connection. And the the Men in Black showed up shortly after that, which they've been known to show up after UFO sightings. And then mysteriously, this supposed Mothman shows up, and the Silver Bridge falls, and they're at Christmas time, and creates havoc or warns the havoc or creates the havoc, either one. I mean, I don't, nobody really knows. But the thing about stuff like that is, and this is just my opinion, is like if somebody says they saw a UFO, or if somebody says they saw, say, Bigfoot or the Loch Ness monster or anything cryptid of that effect, um, you know, I don't think they're all lying. I don't think they're all misinformation. They're not um, giving a report of something they thought they saw. I mean, like if you see something walking in the woods bipedally, like a man, you're looking at something walking bipedally as a man. A bear is wobbly. It won't walk very far on its hind legs. Um, so I think people are seeing something. Now, what are they seeing? I have no idea. And if I knew that, I would be probably a gazillionaire. But that people are seeing something. They're not all lying and they're not all making it up.
Yeah, man. I love Mothman and love Bigfoot and love UFOs. I just like talking, man. for sure. And there's definitely, like you said, a lot of sightings up where you live.
Ohio has a lot of sightings, especially up around Salt Fork, up there, the Salt Fork State Park up that way. As far as I know, the county I live in has had two sightings, but they were back. One was back in the late '80s, and the other one was in the early '90s. There hasn't been a report since then. And one of the reports was probably just 7 miles from where I'm at right now.
Right.
Um, so it was in Wayne National Forest. So, and I mean, in fact, I'm going to Wayne National Forest Saturday morning. I'm going fishing Saturday morning, and I mean, it's right there. And then there's Dean State Park, which is just about another 10 miles up the road, and that's where the other sighting was.
Hey man, let's go fishing Saturday.
Let's go, buddy. I'm going. All you got to do is show up.
Unfortunately, I have to work, man. But yeah, I love fishing, man. You might see Bigfoot out there. Who knows?
Well, I mean, we've fished in this lake, this particular lake out there for well since we were kids. Um, and we frog gig out there at night. We'll stay out all night and frog gig. Never heard anything out of the ordinary or seen anything out of the ordinary, but that don't mean that that it's not there. And compared to back in the '80s, now there's more population out that way. They actually have a bigger campground, and people actually pull their campers and stuff in there now. So, I mean, to me, if a solitary, creature like, say, a Bigfoot would be less apt to be there today than they were back then, but just because of the sheer population of the people that's out there now.
Definitely, man. And have you actually heard of the feral people of Appalachia?
I have heard, yeah, somewhat. I don't know much about it, but yeah, I have heard of the feral people.
I find it very interesting, man. There's actually a lot of sightings in the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, down Tennessee, down Cherokee National Park, down towards North Carolina, down that way. Yeah, um, and it's just, I mean, it's as far as my understanding of it is it's basically just people living off the grid um, forever. They've been there generations. They've never really come to accept modern technology or any of that. I'm sure they carry guns and they probably never go to a grocery store. They probably kill everything they eat. Um, but I imagine it's a set of people you probably wouldn't want to come across. Um, you know, you may end up on the dinner table or just come up missing.
Yeah, they're basically like wild humans, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It would be a wild human that just never was domesticated, I guess.
Yeah. They said they don't even like speak English. They speak like their own little language, like whistle and
Like clicks and
knock and
whistles,
stuff like that.
like
Yeah,
Swahili. Just clicks and whistles.
kind of like Bigfoot actually, which is kind of fascinating.
Well, I was actually reading a report from the Junebug sent it to me. Yesterday was an encounter with a guy who was I don't know exactly where it was at, but he was walking up this trail and he kept hearing just this clicking noise, this clacking noise. And as he continued up the trail, he stumbled up on this big hairy creature that had a rock in the middle of the trail and was taking another rock and was hitting it. Now I don't know, if that's the case, I don't know if that would be like a communication thing or if it was had a purpose with beating that rock or whatever. But the guy pulled his gun. He said it stood up and kind of faced him, and when it did, he fired a shot over its head, and he said it just slowly walked away the other way. And he went back down the trail the way he came, and I guess this thing started following him, and it was clacking the rocks again as it was following him. And then when he took off running, it was started kind of chasing him, which this is the part of the story that kind of gets fuzzy with me. And it just may be me in the way I think, but if this thing's chasing me and I got a gun in my hand, don't think I'm not turning around and I'm popping some shots right dead in your chest. That's just me. That don't mean that's how this guy was. But I'm not going to keep running, you know, especially if I think this thing's trying to kill me, because you're not going to outrun any kind of wild animal, whether it's a Bigfoot, a bear, a coyote, and you're not going to outrun it. So you might as well stand and fight. Now, I mean, that don't mean that this guy, didn't, was afraid to shoot it, but that's just my thinking how I would have reacted. He may have been freaked out to the point where he didn't, he just kept running. But eventually he made it down. I think he said to a creek, and it stopped chasing him at that creek, and he continued to go on, and it went another way. So, but I mean, the it's a fascinating topic, whether it's real or not. I've never seen one. I've never seen any sign of one. I've not, I've never even, and I've hunted all my life. I've been in the woods a bunch, and I've never come across anything that would make me go, "Oh, that's suspicious," or "That's a Bigfoot," or what's that noise? And I've never come across that. And I'll be honest with you, I hope I never do, because I don't know how I would react unless it was coming at me. Um, but the crazy thing is where I do spend a lot of time in the woods, it's in the back of my mind the whole time I'm in there, thinking, if you do hear a twig, snap, you're like, uh-oh, what is that?
Yeah, definitely,
But I
man.
mean, yeah, I mean, I've been in the woods at night, and never really been uneasy or uncomfortable. Um, you know, but I'm sure, there's many reports of these things throwing rocks at you, and especially at night, and snapping twigs and doing these tree knocks and all this stuff and howling but yeah, I've never ever come across anything like that in my lifetime.
Yeah, I actually interviewed a Bigfoot witness a few weeks ago. That was a very fun interview.
Well, I mean, our buddy Don Neal, he's got thousands of eyewitness reports, thousands of them. And I go back to these people aren't making this up, all of it. There's no way you can make all of it up. And there's no way all of these are lying. People are seeing something.
Yeah, I've actually been sent pictures of Bigfoot, man. Years ago, whenever I'd have Bigfoot researchers on, they'd show me pictures of Bigfoot and stuff, and it definitely looked like an ape for sure.
There is back when Joe and I had our other podcast, um, we would had this, a couple of people would tell us about this particular incident down just below Grayson, Kentucky, where a lady claimed that one was down that way, and it would come and beat on the side of her trailer at night sometimes. And tell me, I mean, how uneasy would that be, but she would leave like apples and donuts and stuff outside. And the next morning, the whatever she left, a lot of times she said she left pancakes. Um, that would be gone, and there would be like a woven vine, like a just a small vine woven together, almost like it was gifting something to her for her leaving, a pancake or an apple or whatever. Now, I mean, I never physically got to see it. I never physically got to interview the lady, but that was, the reports that we were getting from down that way, just below Grayson, Kentucky.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you definitely hear that a lot with like Bigfoot giving gifts back and stuff after people.
Right,
Well, actually, like Native Americans, they've like gave gift to Bigfoot, and Bigfoot gives them gifts back.
right, right.
Uh, like I think it was the Cherokee tribe, maybe where they like traded food with Bigfoot and stuff.
Yeah, Cherokee's down again, North Carolina way, around that neck of the woods. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, our there's still a lot of the wilderness that's really not really been explored a whole lot. I mean, yeah, we can look at it at maps, from topographical maps, and we can look at it from helicopters, but especially up in the Pacific Northwest, there's still a lot of that's vast, wilderness. Now, not so much back this way towards the Appalachians. We've got so many, a lot of our big tourists this way is the Appalachian Trail and people riding, their quads and their four wheelers and all that stuff. So a lot of that has kind of died down on this end. But out west, you go up in Northern California and up into Washington and Oregon. I mean, there's still a lot of that is unexplored.
Yeah, funny enough, that's actually where Earl's from, man.
Oh, in the Pacific Northwest, is he?
Yeah, he's from Washington. Yeah, he's telling me all kinds
No
of
kidding.
stories about up there. Yeah.
And again, I mean, some people just have they're like a magnet for these things.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but then there's others like me, I mean, who never have anything like that hardly happen.
Yeah, that's like the witness that I just had on a few weeks ago. Bigfoot continuously visits her. Like I think where she lives now, it's visited like once or twice. When she was younger, she'd get visited almost every day by Bigfoot. I'm pretty sure.
Kidding. And there's these reports of people, in the middle of the night, and this thing's looking in their window. You know, uh, I'm telling you right now, talk about getting freaked out. Could you imagine rolling over half asleep in your bed, looking out your window, and this thing be looking back at you?
Yeah, that'd be crazy,
Whew.
man.
Uh,
That'd be
oh, that'd
crazy.
be so uneasy.
You'd be wide awake for sure, man.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no
You'd be
doubt.
wide
You're
awake.
thinking, man, I hope. And the crazy thing, you're thinking, I hope my doors are locked. Like that's going to stop it.
You can break through your window, Bigfoot cool for
I
sure.
just push the door in. I mean,
If it has the strength that people says that it has. Yeah.
well, I mean, you think about it. I mean, some of these, the reports are these things are 7, 8, 9 feet tall, 7, 8, 1,000 pounds. It would have I mean, it would go through a trailer like a tin can. I mean, like it was nothing.
Like it's a
It is,
garbage bag or something.
yeah. I mean, and it's just, I mean, it's allowing you to look at it without it killing you.
That's
So,
true, man.
I mean, you can only imagine like a grizzly bear, how big those things are. I mean, them things get up to 1,200 pounds, standing 9 feet tall. The kind of damage they'll go through a cabin or a cat, or a trailer or a camper or whatever. Like it's nothing. So you can
Yeah.
imagine, something with thumbs, how bad it could tear stuff up.
Yeah, the Bigfoot witness that I had on is like the Bigfoots where she was, they was so big that she thought they was like trees at first. Like when she was walking up a road, she seen what she thought was trees, but it turned out to be Bigfoot.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's how big they
Wow.
was. Yeah, she thought they was
Well,
trees at first.
I mean, if you just take a look at your ceiling, most ceilings are 8 foot. So can you imagine seeing a creature, weighing say 900 pounds and that tall and probably 4 foot wide at the shoulder,
Mm.
if not more? You wouldn't stand a chance.
No. They always have a weird odor too, is what people say.
I've heard the wet dog smell. Yeah. Or rotting flesh. That's another one I hear a lot. Of course, if you think a creature, anytime you've been around, just say an old dog that's an outside dog, and it rains or something like that. And I mean, old wet dog stinks. So you can imagine this thing, with all this hair, and if it's have any part of human in it, it's going to sweat. Um, so yeah, and yeah, it's going to stink.
Definitely, man. And they say dog man smells as well.
The only thing I know about Dog Man is up there, the Michigan Dog Man. There was one report of this lady. It was in Wisconsin, I believe, that she heard something out by her car in the middle of the night, but she wouldn't go out and look. And the next day, there were teeth marks in the fender of her car.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, that could have, that could have been anything, really. I mean, it could
A
have been
bear.
a bear, could have been a wolf, could have been, I don't know that a coyote would have that kind of power, but I imagine, there's so many other options that it could have been. But yeah, I don't know much about the dog man as far as, to me, you're looking at werewolves, and now you're getting into an area of almost non-belief of, werewolves and that type of thing. I am more apt to believe in a Bigfoot than I am a dog man.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about Dogman either. I mean, I like talking about it a little bit with the researchers that I've had on. I've only had really one researcher on that was a Dogman researcher.
Well, these guys at the old mountain monster guys that run around here that they tried to catch one. And of course, it's half of it's TV and they've got to be dramatic and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it, I don't. To me, when I hear a dog man, I'm like, yeah, okay. Now that's one that would be like, I don't know.
I don't know enough about it to be honest.
No, and I really don't because if I'm focusing on this type of thing or this area, it's more of a Bigfoot type thing. I'm
That's
more
true.
apt to believe in a North American ape that's not been discovered.
Yeah, but here in Eastern Kentucky in Wolf County, there's been Wolfman sightings and stuff. They call him the Wolfman.
Really?
Actually, the people you was talking about with that TV show actually come to Wolf County
Oh, okay. Now I know you guys got something over there in Kentucky, the Goat Man or something.
in Louisville. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It comes across this train trestle or something like that. And
yeah. Greg Yost actually talked about him.
oh, okay, okay, yeah. Now, I mean, I don't know really much about that either,
I
other
don't either.
than something about a train trestle, and if you get caught on the train trestle, it chases you across it, or some crazy something like that.
Yeah, I've not. I don't know too much about that. That was about 3 years ago. They had him on. We talked about the Goat Man stuff.
Now, the Wendigo is a little different. Um, I think that is more of a demonic spirit.
What is it?
Um, it mimics people. It's the type of thing that, say, it will mimic a voice of somebody that is familiar to you and wanting in your house. And I don't know if it can possess you. I'm sure it probably could. Um, but I think that is more, that's not as cryptid. I think that's more demonic. Um, there's many videos on the internet. And of course, when you watch those things, you got to watch them with a grain of salt. I mean, just because, people can do wonderful things with editing nowadays. But, even prior to, the editing stuff that they have today, there's videos out there of this thing, knocking on your door, acting like it's your mom or your wife or your sister, wanting you to open that door. So yeah, if you get a chance, just Google Wendigo, and it's that gives me the creeps. And I think in voodoo, well, down in Louisiana type, they call it the Lugaroo.
Yeah. Well, be honest with you, man. Every ghost is demonic.
I agree with you 100%. No matter how friendly you think it is, it's um, it's a demonic spirit.
That's why I don't ghost hunt.
That's why I quit ghost hunting.
That's why I quit as well. How long
Yeah.
did you ghost hunt, man?
We there's an historic place over here in Ashland, Kentucky, It's a historic. It's about 2 blocks of historic houses
Wow.
from the late 1800s all the way, up through the early 1900s. And there's a house over there that uh, Joe and I, and another guy, Chad, and they we would ghost hunt it. And that's when one of the very first times that I actually come across something that I knew was not of this realm. Um, I had a couple experiences in there, but what they would do, the people who owned the house made a bed and breakfast out of it with uh, our team would go in and ghost hunt with these people who were in the bed and breakfast. And that was part of the experience that we would ghost hunt during the evening and the night, and then they would spend the rest of the night. And, and it was a whole big thing. Um, but one of the experiences I had is there was about 8 or 10 of us. And I mean, this is a beautiful mansion. I mean, it's beautiful. It's got this big oak staircase. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful inside. Um, with one, two, three, about 8 bedrooms upstairs. I mean, it's huge. Um, and we were up there ghost hunting with some people who were, coming up there for the bed and breakfast. And I had to leave early because I had to go to work. I had to go to work at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I told everybody, goodbye. I had to go, blah, 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 this, that. And as I'm walking, getting ready to go down the stairway, there's a room off to the right by the stairway. And everybody else was in this other room on the other end of the house. And just out of the blue, with there's nobody else around, and I'm getting ready to walk down these steps, I hear something just go, hello. But it was in a metallic voice. It wasn't like a normal voice. And as soon as I heard it, I froze. It's like, did I just hear, what I thought I heard? So of course I kicked my light on. I start looking in there, and I go in there and start looking around, and I never heard another thing. But it was odd that as I was leaving, it was just like, hello. So, and another experience we had at that house was there was about 4 of us. We were in the basement, and they had a table set up down there with some chairs. And if you've ever heard a wooden chair, when you slide it out on concrete, how loud it can be. So there's 4 of us sitting at this table. The table probably held 8 or 10, but we were all sitting at one end of the table. Didn't have any lights on. We were just sitting there talking back and forth. And out of the blue, one of the chairs on the other end of the table slid halfway across the room. And, that loud noise of a wooden chair sliding across the floor, a concrete floor, every one of us jumped. And I think my soul left my body and I peed a little bit because, just this big loud noise. And yeah, there was a couple experiences. There was one particular that really, I mean, it kind of when it first happened, it kind of shook me a little bit. Prior to this particular night, about a week before, the weekend before, because we only did it on the weekends, there was a packed house. I mean, there was probably 15 or 20 people in there. And we were all downstairs in the basement. Of course, it was all dark. And there's this young lady, she was probably about 19, 20. She just burst out into tears and starts crying, and amongst all these people. And everybody was trying to figure out, we weren't thinking, ghost at that point. We were thinking something was wrong with her. And all she could say was the white face, the white face. Well, nobody else saw this white face but her. So, I mean, it rocked her pretty hard. She had to leave, go upstairs. So the following weekend, the very night that this chair slid out, I'm sitting at one end of this table with, three other people, and I see this thing moving across the floor. And now it's dark. I mean, it's pitch dark. And it's one of those things that you see out of the corner of your eye, and you know if you turn and look at it, it's not going to be there. So I don't turn and look at it. I want to see what's going to happen. And all of a sudden, this white face, and it looked like a mannequin face with no eyes, no nose, but it had facial features. There was no mouth, and it was just, I mean, powder pearl white. Nobody else saw it but me. Well, it shot straight up into my face, like within inches. But it was off to the side. And I knew if I turned my head and looked directly at it, it wouldn't be there. So it kind of jumped up on me and it backed off real slow. And then it jumped back up on me real quick again, like it was trying to intimidate me. So I never moved because I didn't want to look at it directly because I knew, sure as I did, that it wouldn't be there. So as it starts backing off, and it does this a couple times, it jumps up real quick and then slowly backs off, jumps up. So, and I don't say anything, but in my mind, I say, if you're trying to intimidate me, you've picked on the wrong cat. Well, about that time, I thought that it jumped not from my side, but directly in front of me. And that's when I backed up and I said, okay, I'm done. Time to go upstairs. But nobody else at that table saw that at all. So, it's that is a very haunted place. And maybe one of these days I'll get Joe to come on and tell his stories about it because we ghost hunted that thing for 2 summers.
Wow.
Um, almost every weekend for 2 summers. And I mean, yeah, there was a lot of freaky stuff that went on in that house. Now, as far as I know, nobody's ever been, hurt or anything like that. But whatever that white face was, it was trying to intimidate me or scare me. And I don't know why it picked me, but yeah, it was an experience. I'll never forget that.
Did you quit ghost hunting after that experience?
Shortly after that, yeah.
So it made
Yeah.
you.
We used to do cemeteries and we would do, anybody who, wanted, we had a place of business in Grayson that we done. Actually, there was two, and we got some evidence from those places. There was a couple of different houses that we done, some cemeteries, and then we got that gig over there at that house. And yeah, it was, I got to where, this is something that you shouldn't mess with because I'm a firm believer that even though we can't see anything with our eyes, I'm a firm believer that demons are around us all the time. That's how they know how to pull your strings to make you say this or do this or think this because they see you when nobody else is around. So I'm a firm believer that these spirits and these demons are around us all the time. They're around us right now as we're talking. Um, so I just something in me said this is something that you shouldn't mess with. The best thing to do is to not go looking for these things. I know they're real. I have no doubt in my mind that they're real. So what am I looking for if I go looking for them? To me, that you're looking for trouble. That's what you're looking for. So that was, yeah, shortly after that, I was like, I'm out. I'm not doing it no more. It's not worth, creating something that I can't get rid of. So
Definitely,
that's,
man.
yeah, that's why I quit.
Yeah, I quit ghost hunting for the same reason, really.
Yeah, I don't need that. I got enough problems in my life without having that.
Yeah, but man, one of the most haunted places I've been to was in Cynthiana, Kentucky. It was an opera house up there. I was actually
Okay.
touched by a ghost there, man. We heard a bunch
Was
of
you really?
footsteps and like, you know how like when you're playing basketball, you hear a squeaking sound from the shoes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kept hearing that, man, on the floors there. That was creepy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because it's something we don't understand, in in my mind, and then a lot of ghost hunters don't think this. They think it's just lost spirits or lost souls that haven't found their way. I don't believe that. I don't believe that in a minute. When you die, you either go to heaven or hell. You're not, doomed to walk the earth for eternity. It's demons, it's demonic spirits. They come off as friendly, they come off as, just really timid and, oh yeah, that's blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. And but no, no, it's demons. Like, we lived in a farmhouse that we actually, well, we lived on a farm, but the house that we lived in, we built. Nobody else lived there. Nobody. We had it built. We were the only people that lived there. About 6 months after we moved in, uh, the hallway would be dark, but the way the living room was set up, if you sat on the couch, you could kind of see down the hallway. If you looked at the TV, you could still see the hallway out of your side peripheral vision. And every now and then, you would see something coming down the hallway in white, just flowing white. But if you physically turned and looked at it, it wasn't there. And this went on for a couple years. And one of my kids was just talking one day and said, "Do you ever see anything down the hallway?" Because at first I thought it was just me, so I would never say anything. And they asked me if I ever saw anything in the hallway, and I just kind of looked at them funny, and I went, "No, not at all." I said, "Have you?" "Yeah, this white thing coming down." I was like, "Okay, now that you've seen it, I have seen it." But we lived in that house 25 years, never had a problem other than you would see that. Now, in the middle of the night, you may hear a cabinet drawer close. Um, the TV in my bedroom would come on in the middle of the night, but when it would come on, it would be on full blast and it would be static, but you could hear almost like preaching through the static. And I'm going to tell you, that's pretty unnerving. First couple of times it happened, you'd be dead asleep and this TV kick on, this the volume's up all the way, and this so whatever's you could kind of halfway make out it was almost like it was preaching. It was a little unnerving there at first, but then after a while it became a running joke, like, oh, Gladys has turned the TV back on, because that's what we called her, was Gladys. And yeah, so one instance, I'd come home from work and there wasn't anybody in the house. And so I went in and I jumped in the shower, and I was in the shower and the bathroom door opened, which is not uncommon. Somebody come in there and grab a hairbrush or whatever, and then they go right back out. But it was a big thing because I always kept the door closed because I like it hot. So this door opened and it stayed open. So I hollered out, whoever opened this door, close the door. Because I thought somebody come out, come in. Nothing happened. So there, directly a few minutes later, I hollered a little louder. I said, "Somebody come and close this door." Well, the door slammed close. Well, I'm thinking, well, I made somebody mad, whatever. So I get out of the shower and get dressed and this and that, and I go walking through the house, and there's not a soul in that house, just me. And I was like, "All right, I get it. You got my attention now." you know. So yeah. I've had a few experiences, enough to know that I don't want to mess with it.
That's crazy, man. You told them to shut the door, and they literally did. That had to send
They
chills
didn't
down
even,
your neck, man.
yeah, especially, and they didn't just shut it, they slammed it like they were mad because I was like, well, I made somebody mad, but I didn't care, close my door. I'm cold. And yeah, when I walked through the house, because I was getting ready to see who slammed the door, wasn't a soul there. Wasn't a soul there.
He was like, "Oh man."
Well, yeah, that's what I said. I kind of laughed and I just said, all right, you got my attention now.
Did you
So,
have any more experiences after that?
yeah, a few little ones. There was this one instance. I was went to one of my kids. I bought one of my kids a shirt and it was too big, so it would sit on the back of our dining room chair in a bag for probably a week. And I was going to go out, and when I was going out, I was going to take that shirt back. Well, like I said, that bag had been hanging um, on that dining room chair for a week. So I went to get it. It's not there. I'm thinking, where in the world did that thing go? And so I go looking through the house and I'm looking you know, on chairs and wherever. Well, after about 10 minutes looking, I'm like, well, I got to go. And I called up, well, my daughter and I said, where's that shirt that, I need to take back? And she said, it's on the dining room chair. It's where it has been. I said, it ain't there. Somebody's moved it. I said, but I ain't got time to mess with it now. As I was getting ready to walk out the door, it was hanging on the door. Now, I mean, was it coincidence? I'm not so sure that somebody didn't hang it there, but it was just awful funny that it had stayed on that dining room chair for a week and nobody would have any reason to move it over to the outside door. And I was started walking towards the door and I was like, well, there's that bag. And I looked in it, and sure enough, that shirt was in it. And I just kind of turned around and looked through the house and went, "Ha ha, you got me." And then I went out the door.
Have you had
But
any
I never,
experiences at the house that you're at right now?
no, no, not a thing. And I've been in this house 3 years and never had anything. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, after
Because you
being at
never
that
know.
farmhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you never know because I think Ohio has a thing now. If you sell a house, you have to divulge whether it's haunted or not.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to tell people that are buying your house, hey, this house is haunted.
So you sold your farmhouse and had to tell somebody it was haunted?
No, because I didn't go through a realtor. It did it all on my own. But yeah, and the people that see, we still own the farm property. We just sold that part of the house with a quarter of an acre. We still have the rest of the farm. And as far as I know, the people that live there now have never had any experiences. If they have, they haven't told anybody.
Do you
So,
still
but
go
the
on?
whole time we lived there, I never felt scared or threatened or anything like that. It was just these little silly things, you know.
Yeah, that thing with the shirt would have been creepy.
Now, there was one of the bedrooms that my daughter, when she was young, she would have just terrible nightmares, and that was her bedroom. Um, and every time I would go in that room, I would feel a little uneasy. Not really scared, just like something's not right in here.
Like it didn't want you in there.
Well, not necessarily that. It's just that it had a different energy than the rest of the house. And she had this doll, and I'm terrified of dolls. And I don't mean like Barbie dolls and Elmo dolls. I mean like porcelain, Victorian dolls type things. But she had this doll from the 1800s, and it hung on the wall.
That will be creepy.
Well, it went away. It went away. because I hated that thing so bad that it disappeared. It's gone.
Oh, do you
I
think
got
that
rid of
doll
it.
might have been haunted?
No, because all this was going on prior to the doll being there. But I don't like those type dolls. I don't like to be in the same room with them. I don't like to be in the same house with them.
They are pretty
I
creepy.
just They are, and I don't know what it is about it. It's like mirrors. I don't like mirrors. Um, I get creeped out around mirrors. I don't know what it is. I just get an uneasy feeling around mirrors, around dolls, anything like that. It just I don't it to me I can feel a different energy within them.
Yeah, I can with dolls for sure. And where me and you go, son, we can still feel energy. I feel energy all the time, man. I can tell when something's uneasy.
Right. Well, and I don't know this for sure, but I've had people tell me that I have what's called discernment, where I can feel things that most people can't, as far as energies and good energies and bad energies and good people and bad people. And like I can spend 2 minutes with a person and tell you just about to the T what kind of person they are. And I've always been that way. I feel when I get around people, I don't see what they are. I can feel the energy that they put out. And it's really weird. And it's rare that I meet somebody that I can't do that with. It happens, but it's rare. Normally, all I got to do is spend 2 minutes with you, and I can tell you just about what kind of person you are. So I feel these weird energies sometimes. Um, and it does help a lot because, if I'm in a situation where I feel a bad energy, you get the fight or flight thing. So you either get away from it or you get ready to fight it. And I'm getting too old to run. So I have to fight. So that's just, and I've always had that since I was a kid. I can just about feel the energy coming off of people. But I get that with mirrors, dolls. If I go into like we looked at a house before we got this one, okay, and we went to look at it, and I wasn't in that house 2 minutes, and I said I can't live here. There's bad energy in this house. I can't live here. I don't know the history of that house. I don't know the people who lived there before. I don't know what they did. They may have been the greatest people in the world. They may have been Satanists. I don't know. I just know the energy that I felt in that house. There's no way I could have stayed in that house. Sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's definitely weird. And you can definitely tell when there's a spirit around as well, can't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when people say they can feel something watching them, if there is something like that around, I definitely it don't even have to be watching me, but I can feel that spirit. Um, in 2018, I was attacked by a demon. Okay. Um, it was one of the worst experiences I ever had to deal with, and I hope I never have to do it again. Um, I was in a weak state. I had to have heart surgery, and I was in a very weak state, but physically, mentally, I was weak. And I wake up one night, which I do all the I did all the time, and up in the corner of the room, it was like somebody had taken a pen and scribbled on a piece of paper, just scribbled all over it. That's what was in the corner, the top corner of my living room. This thing would come down and get almost on top of me. And all I could see amongst all this scribble is eyes, and jagged, pointy teeth. And I could hear it with a guttural growl. And then it would shoot back up into the corner. And I don't know if it was trying to re-energize itself, whatever it was, I don't know. And then it would come right back down. And this would go on all night long, for months. And there was one particular night that I was half asleep and this thing come and got on top of me, and I had had enough. I said, "This is it. You're not scaring me. You're not intimidating me. We will fight this out, my bad heart surgery and all. We'll go at it. Tonight's the night." And once it kind of, I realized, I guess I would, the best I could say that the best, it just, once it realized that I was not being intimidated anymore, it could, it was almost like it was afraid of me then. And it would come back, it'd go up in the corner, then it would come back. And I would, the same thing. You're nothing to me. You're trying to scare me, boy. You better get meaner than what you are. And it would go back up in the corner. And this went on all night. Well, eventually it left me alone enough where I could go to sleep. And I remember, I don't know how long it was, an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, I don't know. But I woke myself up praying. Never done that before in my life. I was praying so hard that I woke myself up. I was praying in my sleep. And when I woke up, I was drenched in sweat. And I never had another problem out of that thing. Never saw it again, never heard it again, nothing. Was gone. I can't explain it.
It's definitely creepy, man.
That was, yeah, it was the first month was rough. It was really rough. But once I had enough, I'd had enough. We were going to fight it out. With it, even if that meant that thing killing me, we were going to fight it out because I'd had enough. But out of all that, I'd never even heard of anybody praying in their sleep before.
Mm-mm.
But to pray hard enough to wake yourself up, pray it. Because when I woke up, I was still mouthing words. And because I was like, what am I doing? You know? And I was like, God, I'm drenched in what the heck? And like I said, after that, I never had another bit of anything out of it. It was just like it was gone. So yeah, that's a pretty weird experience.
Yeah, man, where you was praying, it probably scared it away.
I don't care what scared it, just as long as it stays scared.
Yeah, man. Was you a Christian back then or no?
Absolutely. Sure was. Absolutely was.
Yeah, man. I think God was with you that night, probably.
It, yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Definitely, man.
So, but yeah, that's a couple of my experiences. That's why I don't mess with that stuff now
Oh, you was
because
ghost hunting back in 2018?
yeah,
That could have been why.
but that's I mean, I know this stuff is real. It's not it's not TV crap, it's not fake crap. This stuff's real.
It is.
And I absolutely the other thing I absolutely despise other than dolls and mirrors are Ouija boards.
And
And they
clowns.
sell this. Yeah, certain clowns, not all of them. Like rodeo clowns are cool, but Stephen King's It clown's not cool. You know, but they're just I know they're real. I've had to deal with them. I've had to see them. I've dealt with. I've seen spirits. I've seen things move that should have never moved. I've heard things that should have never been heard. I've never been touched or anything like that, but I don't want to be. And it's just one of them things that if you don't go looking for trouble, most likely trouble won't find you. So I don't, and I used to I spend a lot of time in graveyards. Um, Not even ghost hunting. I would do, I've got a history degree, and I would go looking for Civil War soldiers and Medal of Honor winners and things like that. So I spent a lot of time in cemeteries, old cemeteries. Cemeteries only had like 10 headstones in them. To find these headstones of these Civil War soldiers and things. And I spent a ton of time, a ton of time in graveyards. Um, the spirits walk all over the graveyards. I mean, when you go to visit, your little old granny who died 5 years ago, and you're going to put flowers on her grave, there are spirits all over that graveyard, and that's how they know what you do. Like I said earlier, that they see you when nobody else sees you. When you're, in the bedroom by yourself watching porn, or you're over here, you know, cussing this guy out like crazy in your car. They see that, so they know how to pull these little strings to make you react to things. And I mean, I'm a firm believer, and that's how that works. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm a nobody.
No, I agree with you though, man. That's also why I don't ghost hunt, and I don't ever plan on ghost hunting ever again.
No, no, I've got no desire to do it whatsoever.
It's a possibility something followed you home.
It's a good possibility. Yeah, yeah, and it can happen so easily. I used to get. I was a big fan of. I wanted, and I've got several Civil War antiques. I have no doubt that things attached to things like that. So I quit doing that.
But it is awesome
So,
stuff though.
oh yeah, it's great. I mean, I've
Do you
got.
have like Confederate money and Union money and stuff?
I do have some Confederate money and Union money. I've got tons of bullets that I found.
Wow.
I've
Man,
got.
the energy attached to that's gotta be insane.
Well, the I think what I have more than that would have energy to it is every battlefield I've ever been to. I've been to Gettysburg, I've been to Sharpsburg. I mean, I've been to a bunch of them. I always take a piece of the dirt and I keep it in a glass jar. I've got a whole shelf in there of glass jars from the different Civil War battlefields. I have no doubt that there's energy attached to that
Definitely.
because, it would have to be. But
Definitely,
I'd
man.
have to say, you know, Gettysburg is probably one of my favorite places to go.
Really, I've never been there, man.
Oh my God, pictures don't do it justice. If you know anything about that particular battle and you physically see it with your own eyes, it's incredible. It is actually I actually walked what they call Pickett's Charge. It's about a mile walk across this field that the Confederates were wide open. They were wide open. They got decimated in that field, and I walked that field where General Pickett's men went across that field to try to get to the what they called the high water mark. On right there at the end. Right now, it's right on the west or east side of the Gettysburg Cemetery.
Yeah, man. We could do a whole podcast about history. I mean, I love history too, man.
Yeah, I'm a history guy for sure.
Me too, man. Yeah, Gettysburg seems like a cool place though, man. That's also where Abe Lincoln gave his speech, ain't it?
Yeah, the Gettysburg Address. Um, and that's what I mean. These are the little things that you've learned in school, but it's just like, okay, yeah, this is where it happened. But when you physically lay your eyes on it and you kind of get the lay of the land, or of how things were, it is it just opens your eyes up tenfold to like, oh, I get it now. You know,
Definitely, man. And was you actually where the he gave the address at? You went on
absolutely.
that part
Stood
of
right
there?
exactly where he stood. Yep.
Wow. Oh, they
Yep.
actually have it marked like where he was.
Oh yeah, they have a big statue of Lincoln's head right there with the Gettysburg Address on a wall behind it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
The entire address is right there etched in a wall.
Hmm.
So, and there's talk about a place to ghost hunt. Oh man, I can only imagine what that would be like.
I'll pass.
Yeah, I actually went into one of the houses. See the way that battle worked. Um, it started at one end of town and worked its way through town and on up towards the Peach Orchard and on up to what they call Devil's Den and Little Round Top and all that. But they had Confederate sharpshooters in one of the attics of one of the houses. There were two Confederate sharpshooters up there, and they got shot and killed in that attic. And their blood is still stained in the wooden floor today. And I stood right there, looked at it, just as sure as I'm sitting here in my own house. There's
Gives it
still bullet
all.
holes. Yeah, there's still bullet holes in the bricks of the homes. They used 50 cal, musket loaders, and that leaves a pretty good sized hole in a brick.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, until you physically see it with your own eyes, it's the books don't do it justice.
Yeah, that's like one of the hotels in Bardstown, Kentucky, where Jesse James shot a bullet through a mirror.
Interesting story about Jesse James. Um, there's a place here in Huntington called Ritter Park. Well, back in the day, um, my father-in-law's grandpa, okay, owned what is considered Ritter Park today. Jesse James robbed the Huntington Bank in Huntington, West Virginia, and went up into the woods, what is now Ritter Park, and stayed in a cave up there that was on this property. And my father in law's grandpa was given a gold coin by Jesse James. This is how the story goes. I don't know how true it is. Was given a gold coin from Jesse James after he robbed the Huntington Bank and was making his getaway. He stayed in a cave up there overnight and then rode on off the next day. I don't know how true it is, but that's the story I've always heard them tell me.
Jesse James is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was part of Quantrell's Raiders. That's another Civil War story we could get into forever.
Oh man, it's fun to talk about. Yeah, Jesse James is actually one of the most famous outlaws ever.
I agree. Yeah. Then you got hooked up with the James gang, then the Dalton gang, and yeah,
He stayed in
they met their
Bardstown a lot, man.
they met their demise in Minnesota when they tried to rob two banks at one time, and then the town wasn't having it.
Have you ever been to Bardstown?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Love that
Sure
place,
have.
man.
Sure have.
That's another
Yeah.
creepy town, man.
Yeah, and
It's
there's
beautiful. It's a beautiful town, but you can just feel the energy like when you go through there.
There's little towns dotted all over that are just like that. You know, they all have their little stories and their demons, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, it
But
is a beautiful town though.
yeah, well, that's like there's a place up in Martinsburg, West Virginia, Harper's Ferry, that is supposed to be one of the most haunted towns in the country, and that's where John Brown's raid happened when he tried to raid the armory because he was an abolitionist and he was dead set against the South in the slavery movement. So him and his son and a bunch of them raided the armory and was trying to make a stand. And at the time, what a lot of people don't know is Robert E. Lee was a general in the Army of the Northern Potomac before he became a Confederate when Virginia succeeded. So the crazy thing is Robert E. Lee was one of the generals that was there and put a stop to John Brown's raid. So, but when Virginia decided to succeed, the Northern Army tried to get Lee to stay, and he told Stanton that he said, "I cannot stay and fight against my state of Virginia." So that's how he became one of the most famous generals of the South. And the interesting fact is he had a farm right there close to Washington, and it was called Arlington. That was the name of his farm. As the Civil War continued, got big and, there started to become mass casualties. 620,000 men died in the Civil War. Um, the the North started burying their soldiers on his farm. It was kind of like a slap in the face because it was so close to the North that he really couldn't go back to his own farm. So they started burying the soldiers on his farm. His farm was called Arlington, and that's where you get Arlington Cemetery.
That's cool, man.
Useless information, my friend.
Nah, man, history's awesome, man. You got a lot of people out there that love history.
I was taught by a very smart man. His name was Bob Leith. Um, if he didn't know it, that means it didn't happen.
Hmm.
He was
That was
that
your
good.
professor?
Yeah. Yeah. Bob and I come pretty tight over about 4 years. Like I said, if he didn't know it, it didn't happen.
That's
He
awesome,
was
though,
that
man.
good. Yeah.
That's awesome. We definitely don't have teachers like that much anymore. I mean, you still got
No.
a few good ones.
And, you know, everybody knows the big battles or the big people and things like that. But Bob knew the little guys. He could tell you the story of people that you didn't even know of, even existed. And that's what I like. I like knowing, the parts of history that our history books don't tell us.
Yeah. Now, was it you or Junebug that was telling me about there's some mine that you go up like a road and it put your car in neutral and it does something.
That's Junebug. I've heard him tell that story. It looks like you're going downhill, but you actually start going uphill. And it's got to be some kind of optical illusion. But I'm not a physics guy, so I don't know exactly how that would work. But it has to be some kind of optical illusion because it looks like your car is rolling uphill.
And there's a spirit that of the woman supposedly doing that that got
Pushing it,
killed up there.
yeah, supposedly pushing it out of the way of whatever. Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
remember her name.
I've heard that before, and Yeah, it's I don't know how I could take it really, to be honest with you.
It's interesting, man. Definitely.
Yeah, I'd have to see it.
Yeah, actually, somebody told me one of their friends was a coal mine driver, coal truck driver, and that woman supposedly got in his passenger seat.
I've heard of several stories of things like that happening. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah, especially all over the country. There's a highway. I want to say in Arizona, and it's the Satan Highway. The number on it is 666. And I've heard many, many stories of creepy things happening on that road. I never experienced anything, but I've heard of many stories of things happening on that road, which is pretty weird. Which would be, I guess, the equivalent to the Arizona Bermuda Triangle type thing, I guess. So, and there's another road in Nevada, the extraterrestrial highway. Um, I've heard of a lot of things happening on that road. Now, I've been on that road many times and nothing, never seen anything or anything. But the only experience I ever had with anything like that was in that Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah. So some of your buddies have had like random spirits like get in the truck with them before.
Well, nobody I know personally, but you hear things as you're out on the road traveling back and forth and stuff. I traveled back and forth for 26 years across the country. I was either in Carolina or California. And but yeah, you hear things. You hear things that are just a little weird.
Yeah. Lot lizards.
Tons of those. But you know what? About the funny thing about lot lizards, back years ago, I'm talking mid 90s, early 2000s, lot lizards were everywhere. I mean, everywhere. You couldn't pull into a truck stop and not be there 10 minutes, a lot lizard be knocking on your door. I quit driving in 2017. I think they cracked down on them so hard. And I don't even think the police did. I think the truck stops did because they got tired of the riffraff and the drugs and all that stuff. But there towards the end, you may see a lot lizard every week, maybe every 2 weeks. When before, I mean, I'm not kidding you. You was in a truck stop 5 minutes and they were knocking on your door.
Have you ever
And
had one wake you up before?
oh, many times. Many, many times. I shot one in the face with a fire extinguisher in Pittsburgh.
What?
She wouldn't get off my truck and I had to go. So I pulled the trigger on that fire extinguisher right in her face.
She got off of it
She,
quick.
oh yeah, she got off there. Well, it was more of a fall.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
You'd be in the deep sleep and they start knocking. You was probably so mad.
Oh yeah, because I mean, well, I don't want to incriminate myself. Let's see, statute of limitations. Let's see, but yeah, I'm good. Um, because I mean, I wasn't the most legal driver. I could drive 24 hours straight and it looked just as legal as can be. But when I did go to sleep, the last thing I wanted was some hooker beating on the side of my truck wanting to know if I wanted company. You know, no, just go away, just go away.
Oh man, that's one of the funniest things is the lot lizards. About being a truck driver, I'm sure you hear all kinds of stories of lot lizards.
Well, the thing about it is, I kind of feel sorry for some of them because, they've got themselves in a bad situation. And I'm telling you right now, a truck stop lot lizard's life is hard. I mean, them girls get beat, they get raped, all this other stuff, and it's just not a good life for them. And truckers, some of them are the most friendly people in the world, but then there's a handful of them that ain't. And I read a statistic one time that there's more serial killer truck drivers than any other profession in the world because you could kill somebody in Carolina today and be in Texas tomorrow. How do you catch somebody like that?
Creepy, man.
Yeah, yeah, no joke.
Yeah, definitely feel sorry for lot lizards.
They live a hard life. I mean, really, they do. They earn that money.
You'd be in deep sleep. They start knocking. You're like, oh
They
my
do.
God.
And a lot of times I wouldn't even get up because I knew what it was. Why would I get up? The ones you got to get up is the ones that just keep constantly knocking on your door. And it's like, going, that's enough.
You ever had something that just wouldn't stop, like knocked on
Oh,
your
yeah.
door for like 10 minutes straight?
Yep. You got to get out and say, stop beating on this truck or I'm going to beat you up or I'm going to run over you. Leave me alone.
Yeah. They'll leave quick then.
You got to watch them. A lot of them carry knives too. They'll pig stick you in a heartbeat.
There's probably truck drivers that's been robbed by lot lizards.
Oh, absolutely have. Absolutely have. But again, it's one of those things. If you go looking for trouble, it's going to find you.
Yep. I've
And
actually heard stories of lot lizards robbing truck drivers for.
sure, I had a good friend. He wasn't robbed by a lot lizard, but he was down in Memphis, and he got to a place he was going to deliver to, but he got there the night before, and a couple of guys knocked on his door, and when he had peeked out to see who it was, they shot him with a shotgun and robbed him. Sure did. And I mean, that profession is no joke. I mean,
Did he survive?
no, it killed him.
Oh,
As soon as it shot him, he killed him. But I mean, you sleep in Patterson, New Jersey tonight, which is, I don't want to make the people of Patterson, New Jersey mad, but it's the armpit of America, you know? And then, what,
I've never been there.
you ain't missing nothing. But the places that you don't suspect, those are the ones. Like, who would think Memphis? Memphis is one of the worst places in the country. Kansas
I've never
City,
been there either.
Kansas, one of the worst places you could go to.
That's where William Hunt's from.
It's rough. It's bad. St. Louis, you'll get killed in St. Louis in a heartbeat. I mean, it's the cities that you don't suspect, but the gangs have overrun these cities, and they would just assume shoot you and empty your trailer out. Their regard for life means nothing. They don't care you got a family, you got kids, or you're trying to support your family. They just want what you got, and no matter what, they'll just kill you. Louisiana, hey, Baton Rouge, one of the worst places in America.
Never been
Houston,
there either.
Houston's another one. It's bad. Dallas is bad. Now, you go out towards like El Paso, it's bad, but it's Mexican cartel. Um, Albuquerque, Mexican cartel. Phoenix, Mexican cartel. San Diego, Mexican cartel. I mean, you go to these places enough, you kind of know what to see and what to look for to see where it's at.
Oh, so you've been to all these places?
Oh yeah, absolutely, many times.
What was your favorite town to drive through?
Vegas.
Really? You know,
I'd
Vegas
go
is
to
considered pretty rough, man.
I'd go to Vegas every chance I got. I loved it out there.
Really? You know, that's supposed to
Yeah,
be one of the dangerous cities.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's it's like anything else. You got the good side, you got the bad side. You
Well, it
just
is
got to
called
know.
Sin City for a reason.
That's right. But um, we were talking about Bigfoot earlier. One of my favorite places in the world to go is Klamath Falls, Oregon, and it is in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. Where I mean, it's this little town in the middle of nowhere.
Nothing but mountains.
That's it. And it's beautiful up there. Absolutely beautiful. It's up there by Crater Lake. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. And they've had several Bigfoot sightings up there.
Hmm. That's awesome, man. Did you
But
ever
yeah,
drive to
there's
Eastern Kentucky?
oh yeah, I used to go down towards Pikeville and all that stuff a lot. Especially if I was going towards Virginia or something. That down around Grundy and oh shoot, what else was down there? There was Grundy and oh
Was you ever
shoot.
towards like Prestonsburg and
Oh
Hyman's,
yeah, yeah. I'd go to Prestonsburg, Heineman. I'd go out towards what's there's a big lake down there,
Cumberland?
Cumberland. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you been to Hyman before?
Oh yeah.
That's where I live, man.
No kidding.
Yeah, I thought you knew that.
No, it's just hazards. All I know.
Oh, you do know Hyman though?
I mean, I didn't know you lived there. Yeah, I
Yeah, it's a
thought you were.
small.
Yeah, down around Hazard. Yeah,
Yeah, I am close to Hazard though, like 30 minutes.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've been all over. I mean, there's probably not too many places that I haven't been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go to Grundy and Wise, all down through there.
Yeah, I'm like an
Um,
hour from Wise.
yeah, I'd go that way quite a bit. Um, my favorite's out west.
Really?
Um, Colorado is one of the most beautiful states that we got.
Really? What about
Um,
Wyoming?
Wyoming, Wyoming is a little different. You're in the high plains. Okay, so you're above 2,000 feet, so there's not many trees, and it's just rolling hills. Basically, there's some mountains, but especially if you get over towards the Teton Mountains, but for the most part, it's just big, huge rolling hills, and the wind blows all the time. And you can't throw a rock in any direction without hitting an antelope.
Yeah.
Um, where versus say Montana is a little different. It's more mountainous. Of course, you're in the Rockies then.
You
But
like
the thing about
Montana?
yeah, but the thing about Colorado, east of Denver is flat, completely flat. It looks like the plains. Now you're still above 2,000 feet, so it gets a lot of snow. You go west of Denver, and pictures cannot do it justice. Just the mountains are amazing. You go through, Vail, and there's just so many little towns through those mountains. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I don't mean mountains like we got here. These are foothills compared to what they got.
Yeah. Have you actually been to San Francisco?
Oh yeah, been to San
You
Francisco.
been on the bridges
I
behind me?
absolutely been across that bridge right there. It's behind you.
Really? Was it fun to
That's the
drive it?
the Golden Gate. You don't really. I mean, it's a long way across there, but I mean, it's just like any other bridge.
It is beautiful though.
Yeah, yeah. California's a beautiful state. If it wasn't all them goofy people in it. But yeah, California is one of my favorite places,
Like
especially in
Gavin
the winter.
Newsom.
That's one of them. Well, he's part of the problem.
That's
But
true.
you go up in Northern California, it's absolutely beautiful. You go up around Reading, California, and up that way, it's absolutely beautiful.
You been to LA before?
Oh yeah, many times,
Did you like it?
many times. LA's not a bad town. The traffic is unbelievable. Like you get stuck in rush hour, it'd take you 2 hours to go a mile. And I never could understand why in the world anybody want to do that every day.
I don't know. I'd rather just walk.
Yeah. But other than really the mystique of the history of Hollywood and stuff like that, I mean, I could take or leave LA, be honest with you.
Oh, you didn't really like it?
I, it's not that I didn't like it. I like the town. I hate the traffic.
Oh yeah. What about New York? The
Absolutely.
traffic was bad there too.
Uh, I I stayed away from that place as much as possible.
You have been there for?
Oh yeah. I would go to New York City about every 4 or 5 years to remind myself why I don't go to New York City.
Why is that, man?
It's horrible. The roads are not made for trucks. The law is not friendly to trucks. The people aren't friendly to trucks. It's not good. Of course, New Jersey's the same way. You get up around Patterson and Newark and all that, it's horrible. You get in southern Jersey, totally different place. Totally different. It's not much different than here. But you get up around the big city in Newark and Patterson and all that crap right across from New York City, Hoboken and all that, it's horrible. Maryland, that's one. Baltimore, I hated going to that place.
Why? Because traffic?
Traffic and the people. The people aren't friendly when it comes to driving. Now, California always got a bad rap with people. They say, oh, them people are unfriendly out there. People are friendly as can be until they get behind the wheel of a car. Then all bets are off.
Because traffic, yeah.
Traffic. That's right. But I mean, every state is got their good points and their bad points. I really liked running across the plains because, like, you can go through, Kansas. You can set your cruise at 90 mile an hour and run across the whole entire state. Nobody ever look at you, you know. And Utah was the same way. There's many times I've come across Utah 100 mile an hour, and I left LA one time. It's against the law to have a convoy in California, which means you're not allowed to have more than 7 trucks nose to tail at any time. I come out of LA going towards Arizona, and but when you get to Barstow, California, you've got 200 miles of desert till you get to Arizona. There's nothing. You may pass a town and it'll say population 18. And it'll be like 4 campers sitting out in the middle of the desert with a small little gas station or something. But anyway, I was coming across through there and I was running the speed limit for trucks in California, the entire state, even in the desert, 55. 55. So I got my crew set generally about 65, you know. And I'm thinking, dear Lord, it's going to take forever to get to Arizona. And I look in my mirror and there's this big old Peterbilt and it's got lights all over it and smoke rolling out of the stacks. And he goes by me so fast that I think he took half the paint off my truck. So I'm thinking, there's my guy. I get hooked up with that dude and I get on the back of his bumper and I set my cruise at 120 and we're shooting across the desert at 120 mile an hour. Okay. We're probably 15, 20 minutes into this thing, and I look in the mirror and there's 17 trucks coming across through there at 120 miles an hour. Here's the thing, don't be the first one, don't be the last one. Get in that rocking chair, you're just as comfortable as can be. They can't pull you all over. That was a good night. That was fun.
Have you ever been pulled over?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, when you're in your truck.
Yeah. I've been pulled over several times, but I have only ever gotten one speeding ticket. I've always got out of them.
Virginia, probably.
Nope, it was New Mexico. They got me for 79 and a 65. But that's the only speeding ticket I've ever had in a big truck, ever in 26 years. And I'd never had an accident in 26 years. I've got over 2 million miles of driving. They've calculated that I went around the world 40 times and I've been to the moon and back twice.
Hmm.
And I've never had an accident.
Have you thought about going back?
It gets, yeah, once it's in your blood, you don't give it up completely. My health ain't what it used to be. And I don't know. I mean, I know I could do it, but I think it would eventually kill me. Um, and I do miss it. In fact, I told my son-in-law there back in January, I told him, I said, I'm really thinking about maybe getting another truck and taking off. And he said, well, have you thought that through? And I said, well, I mean, yeah, I've thought about it quite a bit. He said, well, just remember, it's January in North Dakota right now. And when he said it that way, I was like, yeah, you're right. 4 feet of snow on the road, 30 below zero. I don't believe I want no part of that.
Yeah. You ever had any bad experiences driving on ice, man?
Yeah, I was in a truck that jackknifed on some ice, but I wasn't driving. And that's a weird feeling. That is a weird feeling. But you know what? The best thing I can tell people when they drive on ice is don't. I mean, that's the best thing I can tell you. If you're not comfortable, get off the road because that's how accidents happen.
It's not worth your life.
No, there is nothing in the back of that trailer worth risking your life and somebody else's over. That crap can be delivered a day late, whatever. But there's been many times I've pulled off and said, nope, I ain't going. I'll curl up in my bed right here and watch TV until this is over.
Definitely, man.
I had a lot of fun trucking. I mean, and it paid me well. I made a lot of good money. Um, but yeah, there's nothing worth dying over.
It's true, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you doing this, man. And
Yeah, man. We'll try to
we'll,
get back together again sometime.
on next week, man.
Or we'll go shoot for next week. Yeah.
we'll do it next week, man.
Yeah. All right.
This has been the Line Before podcast. Everybody have a good night and God bless.